Hey there, scrappers and recyclers. It's Shark Scrapper. We got a whole bunch of DVDs that came out of security systems during an upgrade. Come on, let's dive in and see what we can find. Okay, what we have here is Wirepath Surveillance. It's a DVD player recorder, but it's for security systems, not your home entertainment systems. So you can see we've got programming buttons. We have a DVD optical drive here, and then you can search through, the recordings and stuff that from your security cameras. So could be pretty interesting. I'm expecting a hard drive and a relatively decent board. Going to have a whole bunch of screws along here, which is frustrating, but that's the way it works. We'll get the lid screws off so that we can open her up and see what's inside, and then we'll deal with all of these strengthening screws. Because I always put a lot of screws here because people are jamming connections in there, and well, always hate when that happens. If you can't get it to turn after a while, just don't mess with it and just break it. You don't have to, one screw isn't going to ruin everything. So. All right, well, that looks pretty nice. We have two hard drives, 3,000 gigabytes. And what are you? 1 terabyte. So that would be what, 3 terabytes? All right. And we'll get them out of the way. Now, in this case, the IT company told me that I could do whatever I wanted with these hard drives. Destruction was not required. So I'm going to test them, and I'm going to see, if there's any reason to perhaps put them up for sale. The systems were all functional. They had just upgraded, so these were just taken out of service. Alrighty. Get this shit out of the way. Not worried about putting it back together, so I don't need to keep any of those screws. We have a little board down here that's got some gold cornered BGAs, so that's kind of nice. Let's get this piece of metal out of the way. Oh man, I tell you, I put a new Phillips in and it's throwing me off. that, my eyes are acting up. Injury from my days in the Navy. And every now and then, I get these little eye bleeds, and they can really mess up my vision. They can put what they call black floaters in my eyeballs. You know, the blood gets in there and you can't see right. And it's very frustrating when it happens. And sometimes it's not that big a deal, and sometimes, like this last time, it was a real booger. Very challenging. Yeah. Getting some wire out of the way here. And those are not gold connector ends. These might be, but when I shine the light in there, I don't, oh yeah, there's a gold shimmer to that, so I can cut these off and put them in with gold connector ends. When I'm doing a scrap, I like to do everything right then. What I try to avoid doing is putting stuff together and then going back and having to do a batch run on something, like cutting the connector ends off a wire. If I throw all the wire in a bucket, then what it becomes is a psychologically defeating thing of, oh my God, that's a great big bucket of wire. I can't do all of that. But if I do it while I'm scrapping, it's not quite so daunting. I mean, it does slow you down a little bit, but it's not as daunting. All right, now this fan, I'm going to, wait a minute. First, let's get this wire, ribbon wire taken care of. Get that ferrite in with the little metal bits and that in with the wire. So, as many of you know, my local yard is not taking these fans as small motors. And that's kind of frustrating. They're only taking them as shred. So, as I'm getting material in, you know, it's a balancing act at this point, keeping up with moving along, keeping stuff moving, or trying to resell. Now, I guess that is probably doing all right. So I'm going to set this aside with the keeper screws, and I want to think about what I'm going to do with them. So I'll put you there for a minute. Because I hate the notion of just selling those for scrap. I may have to, because, you know, in just trying to keep up with the flood of material that I have coming in, I may just not have the time to deal with it otherwise. But we're going to explore some options, and we'll hold on to it for now. All right, that is nothing but a small power board. We can throw that in with our low grates. And these, you can see the brass color here. Let's check it with a magnet. Yep, no magnetic response, so that's brass. right, now, okay. Get that front lid off. Ah, there's the screw that I knew there had to be another screw in the way somewhere. Getting a lot of text messages. Let's see what that's all about here in a little bit. So, get that battery off of there. That's a really nice peripheral board. You can see it's green on both sides. We've got some big yellow tantalums over here. Over here we've got these gold cornered BGAs. We've got some nice ICs and flat packs here. So peripheral board. I think we can probably get away with the high grade peripheral on this. Definitely low grade peripheral. Might be able to get away with high grade because this isn't really that bad as far as junk is concerned. So yeah, I'm going to throw this in with my peripheral high grades. This is actually not too bad. A lot of times the screws in here are really small, and this piece doesn't come out real well like it is right now. So being able to lay it flat like this is actually going to save me a bunch of time. It's still a lot of unscrewing to do. All right, and you can see they had audio inputs, audio outputs. We had all kinds of camera connections, and then the dip switches to, just to program it properly. So a lot of input output, but there we've got the charade. Now, this is what I mean by junk. On this side, it's we got some tantalums, we got some ICs, but this side is all junk. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull the big tantalums because I can sell those to board sort. And I don't normally do this, but in this case, because this is going to go in with low grades, why not pull these tantalums and get a little more money for them? Ooh, we broke one. Yeah, there you can see what tantalum looks like inside a tantalum capacitor. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. There we are. And let's see. Does that IC want to come off? Yeah. Those ICs come off pretty easy. That's probably a Dallas switch, so I'm going to leave that on there. There are some black tantalum capacitors here. I don't know, let's see if they'll come off. Yeah, they come off pretty easy. I need to check. I'm not sure if board sort buys the black ones. I know they buy the yellow ones. All right, so we'll put the ICs with the ICs. Black tantalums will go there. ICs. Let me show you this. This is pretty cool. Some of you may recall from my setup in Florida that I had this arrangement. Real nice, these little bins here for the small stuff like those yellow tantalums. I just drop them in there, ICs, black tantalums, so I can put the small things in here, and then when these get kind of full, I can take them over to bigger bins for longer term storage. I've got small tools that I sometimes need to get a hold of, staged and ready to go. So it's a nice little setup there to help me organize. All right, low grade. Ribbon wire. And we're going to cut these connectors off here because I'm thinking about shipping connector ends to board sort now that I'm closer to them, and I am shipping in Gaylord quantities or less than truckload quantities. My shipping costs have gone down significantly, and that makes it much more realistic to ship things to board sort that were otherwise too expensive. This is a really good example of a peripheral board that is downgraded because it has a lot of junk hanging on it. So it's definitely a peripheral low-grade board with all this stuff. But if we look at this, we can see some options here. So these wires connecting here are gold-plated. So that makes this even a little more interesting. And we can see there's a nice line going down here that we could probably use. We can see where it is right here. So we could probably cut that off pretty easily. Come on, let's go do that. Let's cut that off and upgrade this board. Safety first, I've got goggles, and these particular safety goggles have a side visor to prevent stuff from coming in the side, and a dust mask because cutting boards can be a little bit dusty and you don't want to be breathing that stuff in. All right, I think if I put it in like this, I can cut up to the edge of the vise and then flip it around to get the rest of it. And we're just going to cut right along the back of these lines here because I know those are the solder points for those little resistors. I don't want to go any further because then I'll be cutting into my vise, and that doesn't do anybody any good. Glad I had my goggles on. I felt something hit me on the side of the head. So we have upgraded this to a peripheral high grade. Let's get the battery off of there. And that wasn't that hard a job to do. So we've got a nice peripheral high grade board now. And this becomes interesting because, like I said, we've got these gold-plated wires back here. So we can go along here and cut that wire off and get ourselves a little bit of gold-plated material. Got a little bit there. We're going to mess around with gold extraction at some point. That'll be fun to do. So I'm just gathering up some material so I have enough to make it worthwhile. CD-ROM, let's get you out because we'll see what kind of board you have. Dusty in here. Ghost turds all over the place. I had someone comment on another video. They said when I was breaking down a relatively standard kind of PC, it had been in a fire, but it was not that complex a PC, and they were giving me grief over taking 17 minutes. Like, well, it takes 17 minutes when I'm explaining everything. You know, when I'm just in here by myself and I'm not recording and I'm just cranking through things. I mean, it's wham bam thank you man. All right. So, very tiny CD board. Nothing to get too excited about. Let's see if we have gold. Yeah, that's gold on the edge of there, so we're going to put that aside. And that's a brass spindle, so we'll pop that out real quick. There we go. If your yard takes small motors as small motors, then you want to get that one, and that one, and that one. Because, you know, why not? But since my yard doesn't, it's just going in the shred. Now, I could just put, oh, I want to get, there's, dummy, there's more board here. That was nasty. Come on, you. All right. Ooh. A lot of little screws here. Let's see if the number 2 shows. Yeah, it works. Man, I'm going to end up with carpal syndrome just from taking this one off of here. Alrighty, well, nothing much to get excited about there. Bunch of tactile switches, some connectors. There's a nice big IC. Let's go ahead and pop that. Let's see if that'll come off real easy. If it will, we can harvest that and put the rest of this in with our low grade. Let's try weakening it a little bit. There we go. Yeah, we'll throw that in with low grades. Now, just to be clear, when you hear me talk about throw that in with the low grades, I'm putting together this Gaylord for Mint Innovation to buy, and it's a combination of low grades and mid grades, but the prices are pretty much about the same in most places. You know, when you look at Board Sort, their prices are the same for low grade and mid grade right now. So, yeah, there's technically differences between low grades and mid grades, but when you talk about paying them out, it's kind of a wash at this point. And I've got a whole video out there on, and I'll go ahead and link to it, on things that I look at when I'm deciding what to take off of these low and mid-grade boards before I sell them. All right, if you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and check out the links that are popping up to take you to more Shark Scrapper content so you don't miss anything. There's a round thing in the middle, that's for subscribing. Have a great day, everybody.